Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. Wherever you are in the world, I really appreciate you spending some of your time with me. That really means a lot. So I come from a family of fertile myrtles, like no joke. We have a ridiculous number of children in my family. And so, of course, I assumed that I would be one too. And so when my husband and I got married, we were extra careful to prevent pregnancy until we were like absolutely 100% totally ready to have kids. But 3 years and two lost pregnancies later, this has been an experience that we never expected, we never wanted, and that we really didn't know how to navigate when we first started out. So I haven't shared very much of my personal fertility journey with you, even though I work with fertility clients and all of my videos are about fertility. And a few weeks ago, I was talking with a friend about pregnancy jealousy. She was dealing with this issue. And in talking with her, I realized how much I've learned and experienced during this journey that has actually really made me a stronger, calmer, more trusting kind of person. And so I want to share some of those lessons with you. And so today I want to talk about the power of choice. This is especially going to be helpful for you if you are feeling like you have no control over what's happening. Like this thing has just been given to you and there's nothing that you can do about it. And so what I've observed in myself and definitely observed in my clients is that you might not realize that you're believing you don't have control over the situation. So I just want to share a couple of ways that might be showing up for you, because if it is, this is a really important thing for you to be aware of. This can completely change your perspective of what you're going through in a very powerful way. So feeling like you don't actually have control over the situation might be showing up for you if you are frequently trying new things to solve the problem, but not really following through. Like if you are someone who tried keto for a couple of weeks and then stopped, the thought behind that is usually that you don't have control over the end result. And so you just don't continue, because why would you if you don't have control over the end result, right? This can also be showing up as blaming your genetics. So for example, if you are often like referring to family members that also had fertility issues, if you're talking about things that run in your family and your genetics, this is a form of saying that what you're experiencing is just destiny and there's nothing that you can do about it, that you have no control over the situation, which is really interesting to learn what that real thought actually is. And then the third way, this could be showing up for you if you are giving up before you've really tried something. So for example, if a friend tells you they're going to try a Whole30 diet and your like first immediate response is, oh my gosh, I could never do that. That sounds awful. That is a form of giving up before you've really tried it, with the underlying belief being that you don't have control over the situation to make it fun and enjoyable. And if you're having that belief about one thing, you're probably believing that about a lot of other things that you haven't realized in your health and fertility journey. So after my second miscarriage in 2017, I was actually still in the middle of doing my nutrition training. I was completely devastated. I was so depressed. And it had taken over my thoughts. Like I could not think about anything else. My fertility was all that I was thinking about, where I was in my cycle, whether I was ovulating, what I needed to do to track it. Like that was all that I could think about, even while I was doing other things. Like I would be at work doing work, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about my fertility and what just happened. And I was definitely believing, I didn't realize at the time, but I know now, I was definitely believing that I did not have any control over the situation, that there was just nothing that I could do. But the great thing about having a human brain that we do is that we have the ability to think about what we're thinking about. That's so fun. We get to think about what we're thinking about. And at the time, while this was going on, I was learning a lot of the coaching tools that I now use with my clients, that I used for myself back then to get over this, and then that I now use for my current clients. And one of the things that I teach is to ask yourself what you're making something mean. And this honestly can be extremely difficult when you are in the middle of something traumatic happening or right after something has happened. So everything that I'm sharing with you, I want to add the caveat to be gentle with yourself. And if you're not ready to look at the situation or your thoughts in this context yet, that is totally fine. You get to go at your own pace, and whatever your pace is perfect. That is perfect for you. For me, it was probably 4 or 5 months after my miscarriage before I was in a place where I really could look objectively at my thoughts about the situation. But when I did that, I used these tools and I asked myself, what am I making this mean? What am I making my miscarriage mean? And so for you, while you're going through this, you can plug in whatever your situation is, right? What are you making your infertility mean? If you haven't gotten pregnant at all and you've been trying for a while, what are you making that mean? What are you making a diagnosis mean? If you were diagnosed with PCOS, what are you making that mean? For me, I was making my miscarriage mean that I wasn't going to have kids, that there was something wrong and that I just would not have kids. And what's so fascinating is that those were not the words circulating in my thoughts. Like, I was thinking about only my fertility and what had happened during these months. It had completely taken over my mind, but those were never the words that I was actually thinking. The words actually going through my mind were, why did this happen? This shouldn't have happened. I can't believe this happened. I don't know what to do. What should I do? Those were the words going on. But what's so powerful about thinking about what you're thinking about is that it often reveals the true thought, right? And the thought behind all of my questions was, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to have kids. But once I realized that that was what I was really thinking, once I saw that, I saw immediately how that was creating all of those awful emotions that I was experiencing. Of course I was depressed. Of course I felt powerless and not in control. My brain was believing that my miscarriage meant that I would not have kids. Ever. At all. No matter what. Aren't brains crazy? So once you have what you're making the situation mean, you can ask yourself, is it true? And as soon as I asked myself that question, I felt so much better because it wasn't true. And I knew immediately, as soon as I realized my brain was thinking this meant I could never have kids, my first reaction was, but that's not true. But that's what I had been thinking this whole time. This is why this is so powerful. It objectively is not true. And so what I did is list off all of the ways that that wasn't true. We could keep trying. Plenty of people have miscarriages and full-term pregnancies. A miscarriage does not determine what will happen in the future. We could do an IUI. We could do IVF. We could adopt. We could become foster parents. And that thought was fascinating. So I did a quick Google at the time to see how long it actually takes to become a foster parent, because one of the other thoughts going through my head was like, I want this to happen immediately. I don't want to wait. You can probably relate to that. And so I Googled, it takes 3 to 6 months on average to become a foster parent. We could have a child in our home that we could love and care for and help in 3 to 6 months, guaranteed. And as soon as I saw that that's what was objectively true in real life, the thought I'm never going to have kids was not true. And it was like night or day. I could focus on things other than my fertility. I could think about things other than what had happened. I wasn't obsessing about where I was in my cycle. I wasn't obsessing about what I was going to do or if this was ever going to happen. I wasn't depressed anymore. I mean, it was night and day from just seeing what was really happening in my thoughts and realizing that I was believing something that was not true. And so now I had a list of ways that I could have kids. And this gave me choice. This gave me power in the situation. In a situation that I didn't choose, I didn't ever want this to happen. If when I chose, we would have had kids years ago. So what I chose didn't happen. Reality has not caught up with us yet. But in a situation that felt completely out of my control, I now had my power back to choose. And that gave me back my autonomy and the fact that I was separate from the situation. I had been feeling like this situation was happening to me, but now I was able to be a participant in this experience with the ability to change it. And so now, whatever path I choose, my mood and my tone and the way it impacts my life is completely different. That's why it's so powerful to recognize in the beginning when I talked about these 3 different ways that feeling like you don't have control over the situation could be showing up for you. It's so important to realize what the underlying belief is, because once you get rid of that, the whole experience is so much more enjoyable. I have seen people choose IVF, and go through the process just dreading every minute, feeling like their body is broken, that it's not going to work, that they're hopeless, that they've had to go through this terrible, awful thing. And I've seen people go through IVF excited to become a parent, feeling proud of how diligent they were in, like, you have to do all these medications and all of these crazy things, but feeling proud of themselves for having done that and done it really well. And even if the result for those 2 people is the same, right? Either it works or it doesn't. Those 2 women had completely different experiences. One of them felt forced, the other one felt powerful. And so think about how that would impact those 2 women's lives in everything else. Like, how does that impact the way they view themselves as someone who's about to become a mother? How does it impact the way that they talk with their spouse, the way that they show up at work, the thoughts going through their mind while they're lying awake in bed at night? It is a huge difference. Even when the actions, the going through the IVF and the result is the same, the experience is different. And so finding out your choices and choosing them on purpose makes all of the difference. Choose and love your reason for making that choice. So if you decide to do IVF, why? And do you love your reason? If you decide to adopt, why? And do you love your reason? If you decide to keep trying naturally, why? And do you love your reason? I love my reason. We are continuing to try naturally because I believe that fertility is an inherent part of being a female human. And if we're struggling, there's a reason. And finding out what that reason is and addressing it is going to make us so much healthier, and our children so much healthier, and our children's children so much healthier. So that if I have daughters, they won't have to have all the issues I had. They won't have to have painful periods that I did when I was growing up, that my mom did. I can end that generational cycle of painful periods. That's exciting. I love that reason. And so when things get hard, when things get difficult, and I am back at that place where I'm feeling like it should be happening faster, I'm feeling like it should be different, whatever it is, I remember that I get to choose which route we take. And I can change my mind at any point. If I want to adopt, we can adopt. If I want to keep trying naturally, we can keep trying naturally. We can even do multiple things, right? We can adopt and keep trying naturally. We can do IVF and become foster parents, whatever we want. Someday in the future, maybe I'll choose something different. And if I do, I will love my reason for choosing it. And I will be grateful for the path that I've been on so far and everything that I have learned and experienced from it. But for now, I love my reason. And so no matter how long it takes, I am learning so much from this path that I have chosen, and I am so grateful for that. All right, so I hope that this was helpful. If you have been feeling like all these things are just happening to you and you have no control, I really believe that you do have far more control than you have been led to believe. We generally are not empowered when it comes to fertility or taking care of our bodies. And so there is a process of learning how much control you actually do have over your path and over your body. So find the things that you do have control over and love your reasons for everything that you choose. Okay, next week I am going to share my tips for handling pregnancy jealousy. This is a huge issue. Every time I go into fertility groups on Facebook, there are a million posts of people saying, my sister just found out she's pregnant, someone at work just found out she's pregnant, and all of the emotions that that brings up. And so I am going to share with you how I deal with that and ways that you can stop the sadness and the jealousy and change your thoughts to actually fuel your own belief in yourself. It's really, really powerful. So tune in for that Mondays at 11:30 Central Time. And if you enjoyed this video, please click the like button below. Share this out with anyone that you think would benefit from the message. And if you want help with this, if you have been struggling and you need some help, then we can work together, and you can find out how to do that over on my website, parsleyandpumpkins.com. There's a link. You can schedule a free call, and we can talk about how we can work together and get you feeling better. All right, I'll talk to you soon.